Hey guys, well, I am home now. I have been running errands for the last couple of days. I had to go do some grocery shopping and stuff like that. I'm gonna go ahead and take off my boot and show you guys, I hope, so confusing. I'm gonna show you guys what my toe looks like right now. And, you guys can kind of check it out. I also wanted to, basically, I'll ignore that. It's just the, tornado warning thing. I guess they're practicing or something. Anyway, so let me go ahead and real quick and show you my toes. Yeah, as you can see, they're starting to get a little bit better. They're not too bad now. They're still a little bit kind of bluish, right around the bottom and right there on the joint. They're still swollen. The whole left side of my foot is completely swollen, as you can tell. That I got from stepping on one of John's toys, so that's not part of it. But you can see it's still kind of swollen and, you know, really kind of fat in it. Anyway, I also wanted to take this opportunity to basically, I've been kind of hinting at problems that I've had with some family members, so I'm going to go ahead and out them right now. Mainly because I'm completely tired of the whole drama. As many of you know, my husband was killed in an accident. At some point, I received some money from a company that he had purchased some things through, and, well, was in the process of purchasing. And, as part of he had a protection coverage on it, and part of the coverage was that if the item was destroyed in a fire or an accident of some sort that was not his fault, he would receive money to help cover the cost of said item. Okay. So at the time, I was in Las Vegas, and I was visiting my family. This was shortly after the accident. I was basically taking a break from everything. My mother-in-law had asked me if she could pick up the check from this company that they were going to be giving me as, you know, to cover the cost of the item that had been destroyed in the accident. And I said, yeah, that's fine. You know, I said, you know, I'll let you run it through your bank. Initially, I was going to give her $500 out of the check so she could go and do whatever she wanted, you know, go on a short vacation, pay bills, whatever she needed to do. Initially, I had planned to do that. I told her, you know, we'll let it run through your bank, and once it's cleared, I want you to take a certain amount out and give it to my father-in-law. Now, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are divorced. They don't speak to each other. At the time, they were on speaking terms, because because the accident had just happened, so they were still talking, and there wasn't really an issue there. So I told her, as soon as it clears, take this amount out and give it to my father-in-law, and he'll hold on to it for me until I get back. And she said, okay, that's not a problem. So initially, what I was going to do was I was going to use some of that money for my return trip home from Las Vegas to go to Oregon, which is where I was living. About a week before I was supposed to leave, I tried to call her and find out if she could get him the money, because he had access to my account, or I had access to one of his accounts, and what he was going to do was put the money into that account, and I'd be able to use it. So I called her, and she didn't answer her phone. I call her at home, I called her at work, and basically, you know, when I finally got a hold of her at work, it was, I can't talk right now, I'm working, I'll call you later. Well, 3 days went by, I hadn't heard anything from her, and I waited and waited, and finally she calls me back, and she tells me a collection agency had gone into her account and taken everything out of her account. I'm not a banker. I don't work with collection agencies, but to me, the way I've always known it was that they usually contact you and say, well, we need something, is how much can you give us? And you only authorize a certain amount. But she explained that they went in, they took the full amount of the check plus whatever amount she had in there as well. She told me that we, you know, at that point I said, you know what, we'll get it worked out when I get back. I said, right now I'm not going to worry about it because there's nothing I can do. I'm here, you're there. We'll handle it. We'll get it taken care of. So I got home, and once I got home, she again asked me for more money. She asked to borrow $400 to buy a car for my brother-in-law and his pregnant girlfriend. And I said, okay, you know, that's fine, but I need it paid back ASAP. At the time, I was trying to be nice to everybody because it was just a horrible time. And I didn't want to start arguments. I didn't want to be, you know, the hated person in the group. But regardless, apparently that still happened. I was still the hated person in the group. So I lent her that money. She then asked for $500 to get her car out of her body shop because while I was gone, they were involved in an accident. And she didn't have $500 to pay back to get her car out. So again, I dig into my pocket and I give her the money so she can get her car out. You know, I understand she needed her car, but I told her, I need that money back ASAP. That's it. I can't lend you anymore. And she then needed to borrow money from my father-in-law to help pay for a phone bill, I believe. She paid, I don't know what happened, but she borrowed that money, and then she turned around and somehow was able to afford to buy a brand new camera for it was over $150. But yet, she had to keep borrowing money from everybody to pay off her other bills. You know, so I told her, you know, I said, well, I'm not understanding this. How are you able to do this when I lent you money and he's lent you money? She said, oh, well, I bought it on my credit card at this particular store. I said, okay, well, you know what? Instead of paying me back cash, I need a new laptop. So why don't I go and pick one out and you can purchase it on your store credit and, you know, I'll knock off that much off of what you owe me. She agreed. So for weeks, I kept trying to get her, yeah, I went into the store, I picked out the laptop that I liked, and I told her, you know, this is the one I like, and she would say, oh, well, I can't go right now, I have a meeting. Oh, I can't go right now, they need me to take them somewhere, meaning her kids, her son and his girlfriend. For weeks, it was a constant, oh, I can't do it right now. She finally tells me, well, I can't do it at all because I can't afford to pay it. Even on my store credit, I can't afford to pay for it. Okay, fine. Well, we need to reach some sort of agreement for you to start paying me back the money that's owed. I need that money. In the meantime, my brother-in-law, I told him, look, for the $400 that I lent you, I need you to go out and get a job and start paying me back. That was the whole reason I had lent him the money, was we had agreed to him going out and getting a job and then paying me back. He agreed to it, I agreed to it, done deal. He did manage to go out and get a job, and then he quit because